Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Adobe Live. I'm so sad to say that this is our last Photoshop Creative Challenge. Oh my gosh, how did the time go by so fast? Um, Thank you guys so much for being here. My name is Arabela Espinoza. I am one half of Weekend Creative, a commercial photographer and art direction duo based in the Bay Area. So anyway, I'm here and I'm super excited to get into this challenge. Please let us know where you're watching from. And yeah, I always love to see where everyone is at. I feel like Adobe Live is just so international, you know? Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, of course, so that you can get notified when new challenges come up and when there are other streams that are of interest to you. So let's get into this challenge. So I love that last week's challenge was all about compositing, and we're going to be kind of doing the same thing, but with a focus on focus stacking. So if you're unfamiliar, focus stacking is essentially when you want to achieve like a wide depth of field and you are grabbing multiple plates or plates, aka images, and you're putting them all together to kind of create a really like sharp and focused image from the front of your lens to the back of it. And it's a really fun technique, and it's fun when you do it in product photography. So here's kind of this image that we're going to be working on. If you want to follow along, or if you want to do this on your own time, there are starter files for you to check out, to download, so that you can kind of try out this technique for yourself. They should be available at the top of the chat, wherever you're watching from, or in the description box. So definitely super excited to get into this. So why don't we do it? So this is kind of the final image of this hostess like dinner scene that we thought would be really fun. Another personal project. We love doing personal projects all the time, and it's a way for us to really practice different techniques, different retouching techniques, and all sorts of things. So we thought it'd be really fun to just play around with a lot of different hostess snacks and kind of put them in like elevated scenes. So in this case, we're having some Twinkies for dinner. So it's really, really fun. So if I peel back some of these layers here, we get to kind of like our compositing here. So this is what I mean by focus stacking, right? Where we use all of the different plates, put them together, and make sure that we are kind of getting everything in focus, right? Because normally, if take a photograph, and you can get down to a really small aperture, but oftentimes you're still not going to get everything in focus, right? So that's where the focus stacking really comes into play. So I'm going to just hop into Lightroom Classic just for a teensy little bit, because it's important that we, make sure all the images are looking right. And so that way we can put them all together in Photoshop. So again, so important to do our color temperature, right? So this is right off the bat, super raw. Of course, things are looking very dark and very, a little scary. But don't worry, we're gonna fix that right up. Of course, some lens correction as well. And I'm also going to be doing, let's actually go ahead and paste those settings first. So I'm gonna do develop copy settings. Again, you can also just do Command C if you know the shortcuts. But I'm keeping everything checked off, or checked, because it's going to be the same for every single image. So in a different scenario where you're working with different images, different angles, different everything, I usually like to uncheck the transform, crop, and things that are very specific to a certain image. But in this case, I'm okay with copying everything. So let's go ahead and paste that onto this image. Oh my God, so much better. Do you guys see that? Like, that's crazy. Sometimes our cameras just don't always get it right. So let me zoom in so I can show you. So in this case, I think I had the Hostess Twinkie, um, in focus. So this is what's important about doing this focus stacking technique, is that you have to take the plates that you need on set, right? In the pre part of it, right? So in this case, you can see that even though I think I had, yeah, aperture of 13, anything smaller like f22, you start it just the quality kind of lessens. So I typically try to stay around 13, 14. But you can tell that even then things are getting out of focus, right? So that's where we take the extra plate. So if I go ahead and copy our settings here again, I go over to our image. I think I Yeah, I focused on the drink here. And then if I go in again, I think I focused in on further back too. So it's just like, sometimes you might need more than 3 plates. It really just depends on the image. But in this case, I think this was perfect. So I have the front, the kind of middle, and then the kind of back, the sort of, different points. So that's always key. That's super important for focus stacking. So let's go ahead and do one last little tweak because I can see that we're kind of feeling a little like off center. So I like to kind of take care of that in Lightroom Classic before I take it over to Photoshop. So we can do a couple different things. We can either do a little auto and see if Lightroom knows what I want it to do. We can do a little level or vertical, but I don't think it's getting it exactly what I want. So I'm going to just go ahead and do a little guided. And I'm going to do this little section right here. And I'm going to see what happens if I also add one here. It might look a little crazy. Yeah, that looks a little crazy. So I think maybe what we need to do is actually, I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to go into our crop and I am just going to rotate our image here. And that looks a little bit better. There we go. I'm going to bring it back and there we go. Okay, that looks a little bit more centered, and I'm gonna actually bring it back here. Sometimes I feel like you have to like look at it a few different ways. Okay, that looks way better. Okay, amazing. So again, I can always make some extra tweaks in Photoshop too. We can always do a little skew action, but I kind of want to do that a little bit right there. Now I feel like I'm going a little crazy and wanting to bring it back just a smidge. Okay. There we go. Okay, perfect. So again, let's go ahead and copy those settings. I'm gonna press OK, and then I'm gonna select those two and paste them. So there we go. Perfect. That looks amazing. So now, in this case, we can either leave it as a 2x3 horizontal here. Or if we wanted to crop it now into our like 4x5 for like Instagram, for example, we can do that right off the bat. So I can just switch that over and kind of make my crop there. That looks great. Okay, perfect. Oh, that looks so good, you guys. So let's go ahead and copy those settings again. I'm doing Command C and I'm going to select those and paste those settings. So there we go. Perfect. How good does that look? Okay, and again, now we're going to grab, kind of like that we did last week, we're going to grab all of our images and edit them open as layers in Photoshop, right? And that way we prepare them, kind of make sure they're all good to go for that focus stacking technique that I was talking about. So there we go. Perfect. So let's go ahead and I am going to, so when it comes to focus stacking, once you're ready to kind of put them together in Photoshop, I like to do this thing where the bottom layer or whatever I have in focus that's like more like closer to the lens, I want to make sure that that's at the bottom of, you know, my layers. And then I'm going to do like just kind of move that top one in the middle. That way it's kind of reversed, right? So there we go. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to grab all of those layers, make sure all of them are selected. I'm going to go to Edit, Auto Align Layers, and let Photoshop do the magic of putting them together so that they're all on the same, like on a perfectly even image there. Oh, that looks so good. Okay, this is so subtle, you guys, but if you can see, when I turn on that middle layer, then this gets focused, and then when I turn on that third layer, it's the back gets focused there. Oh, that looks so good. Yeah, you can tell that it's like this is focused, then the drink, and then the flowers. So that looks awesome. So what I'm going to start with is, now there's a couple things that you can do. I just like to go pretty basic when it comes to it. So I like to just add a layer mask here, and I'm going to Command I for invert. So that gives us our transparent pixels here. And I'm just going to grab a large, nice, brush here in white. Make sure the foreground color is white because that's what we're going to be painting in our scene. So we're going to start here at the bottom, right? I am starting this way because I know that, again, that bottom layer is what's in focus at the moment, right? So let's go ahead and take care of that. And it just like feels fun. It feels like painting. It's just like, I'm like, okay, la di da di da. Okay, amazing. That's looking really good. And now we're kind of starting to see that we're losing some of that focus, right? So really what's in focus for that first layer is this Twinkie on this plate and the front of this table. Fun fact about this table, this was not actually a table. It's like a total makeshift. Like we were balancing some weird stuff on there. It was like the oddest thing. Um, okay, perfect. So that's kind of like our first layer here. So now what we can do is that we're gonna go onto our second layer and I'll do the same exact thing where we add a layer mask, we invert it, and now we can paint in that like middle part. So if I start painting in, you can kind of see that this is now starting to be in focus as well. So kind of making sure, see, like, do you see the detail that's kind of coming out there? That is looking so good. And there we go. So I want to kind of go back and forth between using a big brush and a small one, especially once I get closer to the areas from the first layer there. Sometimes you might even need to, do a little bit of like changing the hardness of your brush too, if you're getting to some edges where you need to do that. But in this case, I think we're pretty okay. This is looking good. Perfect. Amazing. Do you see all that detail that just kind of comes out? I love it. I don't know. There's just something about an image where like everything is in focus. You get a razor sharp image, and that's honestly like really great for product photography, right? Where you want to see all that detail. So this is looking good. And now I can kind of go a little more wild. So there we go. Now in this second layers, I'm pretty sure we had the drink in focus as well. So I'm gonna make sure that I grab that. And this kind of like candle or like situation, I don't even know what this is, but it looked cool. Okay, that's looking good. Amazing. And then we move on to our final one, right? So same exact technique. We're just gonna add that layer mask. It is so simple, you guys. But it really produces a really cool effect. So I'm kind of going over here to, you can tell that like this part, this front of the part, oh, actually, you know what? Even that third layer, this is actually a little bit more sharp too. So I'm gonna also do that as well. Okay, perfect. That is looking so good. So sometimes you might need all 3 layers, all 5 layers, whatever it is that you take. Other times you might realize you don't need quite as much. So it really just depends on your shot, and how much is in your scene, right? If you've got like a full dinner spread with like tons of things and that is where you'll probably want several several different plates to make sure that you get everything, right? Okay. So I'm going in, making sure we've got all of our image here. Okay, that's looking really good. And now I can kind of go ham over here. Okay, amazing. And then let's take care of our flowers back here. And voila, you guys, it's so cool. Okay. Yes, look at all that detail. I love it. Okay. Amazing. Beautiful. Okay. So that is looking really, really good. Now what we can do, a couple things with the transparency, we can either crop down or we can have Gen fill, like fill the rest. At that point, it's totally up to you what you want to do. But this is looking really good. So if we just kind of peel back these layers here, we can see everything that we kind of masked in, I guess. So that's looking really, really good. Okay, Love it. So now let's just kind of do a little edit for this, right? We have, so let's go ahead and just do a little 4:5 crop again. And I'm gonna just zoom in here to kind of get rid of those pixels there. Beautiful. And then if I bring it in on this left side as well, and a little bit on this side as well. Okay, perfect. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. Beautiful. Okay, so now a couple other things that I would typically do with this. So let's definitely get some adjustment layers going, right? We definitely need kind of an overall levels adjustment. So let's bring that up. Oh my gosh, that's so pretty. And I love playing around with kind of just, especially when you've got a histogram like this here, usually I like to bring in the sliders depending on what needs to happen, right? In this case, we definitely needed some to increase kind of like the overall brightness there. And sometimes I'll bring this up or bring the middle slider, which is kind of like the midtones, over to the left as well if I want to bring up some of the shadows there. So that looks pretty good to me. Sometimes I'll also do where I'll grab my object selection tool and let's say I want to highlight certain things, so or add layers adjustments to uh, specific products or props. So in this case, let's say I wanted to do a little levels adjustment on this cocktail here. I can just grab that. That looks amazing. Okay. I'm making sure, I'm gonna just go ahead and zoom in here and remove some of that wrapper there because I do not want it to include it. Perfect. Beautiful. Okay. And then let's go ahead and add a layer mask, levels adjustment. Okay, hit okay. And then we can just make adjustments here. Like, ooh, that looks kind of fun. And then kind of increase the contrast there a little bit as well. Yeah, amazing. It's like little subtle things, but once it kind of like you bring it all together, it looks amazing. Okay, so let's go ahead and select all of these, and I'm gonna group them, and I'm gonna call it comp. I'm gonna hide these layers just for a quick second because I'm gonna select by hitting Command A, and then Command Shift C, and then Command Shift V, and that's gonna kind of create a copy merged layer here. And I'm just gonna call that our clean layer. Okay. And really there's like only a few things that I would like really, want to clean up here. I mean, I can see that there's like a few little, um, uh, a bit of the Twinkie here that got onto the scene. So I can just grab all of those and I can hit generate and have it just remove them out, and clean that up really quickly. So I'll let it do its thing. And there we go. Look at that. So easy. Again, like sometimes it just takes like a first pass to kind of get it going. Okay, so let's see what else we've got to clean up. So, I mean, there's a lot going on this, on this little vase, or I don't even know if it's a vase. It's like more like a candle holder, really. But I do want to remove, actually, here's a good way to use Gen Fill. Labels. Any labels that have, sorry guys, my cat's feeder just went off. So if you heard that, you know, just know that a kitty is eating happily. um, okay, so then so this is definitely something that's important in product photography, right? Is labels. If it's not the product that's being highlighted, right? Like if in this case, like let's say Hostess was the product that we were shooting for, which they're obviously very highlighted. We want to make sure that there are no other labels that are out there, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and hit Gen Fill and fix that. Okay. And it usually does a pretty good job, guys. I'm always like super impressed. Oh, look at that. Amazing. That's so perfect. I love that. Another way that you can use like Gen Fill or things like during cleanup is, all of these like water splashes or any like dust or things like that. Sometimes that will do a really good job as well. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot with this little section here and see if it nose to kind of like remove that like really crazy shine that like draws my eye there. Okay, perfect. Okay, so there we go. That's way better. Let me see the third one. Oh, okay, that's better. I like this one, I think. That's like the one that looks the most pleasing to the eye. So again, so many ways to adjust all of this, right? But one of the fun things that we did with this image that I love so much, so let me go ahead and turn back on those adjustments. So we've been really loving playing around with some HDR like toning adjustments. And yeah, let me go ahead and show you how we do that real quick. So I am going to kind of do the same thing that I did earlier where I hit Command A to kind of select everything. I'm going to hit Command Shift C or Command C for copy. I'm going to add a whole new layer and I'm going to click on clipboard because that's what I've copied, right? So I'm going to paste that here. Oh, and actually I did not. So let me go ahead and go back Command Shift C and then, oops, there we go. Oh, and then I just realized it's on gray. Let me redo that again. Okay, so if I do Command Shift C, I'm gonna add new. I'm gonna make sure on clipboard, we're gonna create, and we're gonna hit Command B. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm gonna hit Command Shift E to kind of flatten everything out. We've got our background. Now I'm gonna go over to Image, Adjustments, and HDR Toning. Now the reason I do that is, and that I do it on a separate layer is because it usually asks to flatten your entire image. And we obviously don't want to lose all of our amazing work. So that's why we've done it on a separate one. And so then we've got just these fun, playful, you know, HDR toning adjustments and effects that you can totally use to, I don't know, create a really unique effect. So I like to play around with flat. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that and I'm going to paste it back in here and I'm going to press OK. And that looks amazing. We can kind of lower the opacity here. And then if we go back, I'm just gonna add another fun little HDR toning effect. We can do one, you can also create your own, right? So I've gone ahead and created my own little adjustments here, and those look always like really, really fun. So we can go ahead and paste that and it adds just this really fun effect. And you can kind of play around with some of the blending modes to kind of really add your own style there. So we look at how crazy we got just with that alone. And lastly, just for a little fun effect here, just to kind of sharpen our image, I've kind of had my own preset that I made that just really brings out all the edges. And I'm gonna hit copy, paste, and we bring it in, do a little overlay or soft light and bring it down. And we just see all of that texture there. And that's where we got our final image, you guys. Oh my gosh. So that's focus stacking for you guys. I hope that you learned a little something and a little bit of HDR toning presets as well. But thank you guys so much for hanging out. I hope you learned some fun new techniques today and be sure to stick around for the next creative challenge. Bye.